Uh, Wilson Morales from Black Film and TV. Courtney, obviously you're playing one of the main roles in this. What goes into the research when you're playing the father of a genius?
You know, he was a genius in his own right. So I had to, again, it's always about what's the way in, how you begin. And I began with because he was so prolific, a preacher, there's hundreds of sermons, and he produced his sermons and sold his sermons. First preacher to do that. I don't know if he's the first one, but he was revolutionary in that sense. So consequently, it's very easy to just turn on his sermons and just let them wash over you, and that's what I did. I just let his sermons wash over me and hear his rhythms and hear his cadences, and sometimes I just need one or two sounds that somebody makes, and that's how you know what their rhythm is. So I just had a wonderful time just tapping into him, and then leaving the homework at home and going into the church and just being family with family. So that was that's always fun. But he was before there was Aretha, there was C.L. Franklin, and
Definitely,
he was a force of nature.
Shaian, how old were you when you first heard of Aretha and started getting familiar with her music, or did it happen when you got this role?
I've listened to her music ever since I was little. I've listened to it in the car with my grandma, or my mom would show me music videos or things that she's done. So I've listened to her music ever since I was little.
Now you're playing her at a young age. How much research did you get in terms of how she was at that age that you're playing?
Well, the thing is, I wasn't able to get much research considering that her childhood wasn't in the media at that time. So I kind of had to, I watch her interviews from when she was older. I'd listen to her music. I'd connect like my religious beliefs with her religious beliefs, and I kind of had to like shape it in my own way, like connecting scenarios that I may have experienced with scenarios she's experienced, and just kind of forming that in my own way.
And Courtney, CL is going to be looked at in different ways. Obviously, there's not a lot that people remember him unless you're young enough, and then there's always what you can read on a computer and so forth. How would you want him to be described in this, with the performance you're giving of him?
He's as Shaft was. He was complicated, man, and nobody understood. No, he was complicated. He was messy. But that's what life is. Life is messy. It was a messy time period. There was nowhere for Black people to turn. He came out of degradation, and out of he should have been a sharecropper, and he should have been dead by the time he was 25, 30. He should have been worked to the bone, and dropped dead in a field somewhere, or be hung by somebody for. So for a Black person to aspire to be somebody and actually become somebody, that don't happen. From where he came from, was no education, no education, no. Straight up out he was a preacher, little churches off the road, and from that to become the pastor with $1 million voice, he was a miracle. So for him to be who he was, and then for his daughter to be who she was, and then for the two of them, and then they've had to figure out the who's the star. I made you, but Daddy, I'm the star now. But I made you, but Daddy, I got to go. But can you come back to my church and I'm about to do that, Daddy. I got to do my own thing now. So it was very, very complex, their relationship. She couldn't make it without him, but she had to make it without him. But she couldn't make it it was very complex.
I was going to ask you, but I'm going to let Shaian, talk about this one. Talk about singing these songs, in terms of the songs that Aretha sang, and did you have to work your voice for it?
Well, I lip synced to a track, so I did all the work. Well, it was kind of like, it was pre-recorded. So I would basically have to make it look real, or I could say it like
very hard to do. Very
real.
hard to do.
But like at the same time, I was singing to make it that reality. So I had to like, I did have to work my voice for it, but at the same time, it wasn't that tedious.
Either way, you guys did a phenomenal performance. Let's see more of you down the road. Courtney, you're always working, so I'm sure I'll talk to you sooner than later.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Take care.